guys! So today I want to talk about rehearsal etiquette. And those of you who have been on this channel for a very long time know that I've talked about this a lot. But I've talked about it in the context of music school. And while ideally rehearsals wouldn't change between music school and the real world, they do, and we all know they do. And I want to talk about some of the things that I've noticed that either I didn't know or that I want to pass on to you guys so that it's easier for you to get rehired or just do better in rehearsals when you're a professional. The first thing is that there's more pressure to do well in the rehearsal because you want to get rehired. A lot of the times as a freelancer, especially when you're starting out, you're getting hired for a part of a tour or one show, or you're just coming in and subbing. And that means that you, one, aren't contracted for their next gig or anything like that, and two, you might be a complete stranger to the organization. And that means that one, you have a blank slate to impress these people, but also if you don't impress these people, they're not gonna ask you back. And if it's a group that you want to play with more, you do have to put in the work to show them that you know what you're doing and that you're worth the effort to hire again. Some of these organizations hire on a case-by-case basis, and being one of their first calls means that you're gonna get more opportunities. And if they're hiring for a more permanent position, that means that you're on their radar as someone that they've worked with and they think they work with well. So what does that mean for you? That means that one, you have to come to rehearsal prepared, which is really just a baseline for anything, whether you're in music school or not. But you also have to know your music and not just like know the notes, but really know what's going on. Especially in something where you only have a couple of rehearsals, you're not gonna have the time to like woodshed anything, or in an orchestra rehearsal where your cycle is 3 months long, you have the chance to come back and fix something. When you only have 2 rehearsals and then the gig, you're expected to put that work in before you get there so that those 2 rehearsals are putting it together with the people that you have and making sure that everyone knows where they're supposed to be. And that means that you have to know your music. And one of the things that you do have to do is figure out how many rehearsals you have and plan accordingly. If you have 3 weeks of rehearsals, then yeah, of course you can have a little bit more time to learn your music. If you have 1 in the concert, you'd better come in prepared. And that's a big thing that they talk about in music school and they tell you all the time, but until you really get into your first like, hey, you have 1 rehearsal and a concert kind of performance, you're not gonna realize how different the preparation required is. So yeah, of course it comes with experience, but if you go into the performance knowing that that's what's gonna be necessary, then you're more likely to actually succeed and get hired back. And these people talk to each other and they recommend people to other organizations. I've gotten performances and gigs from friends that happened to work with other groups that had worked with me on other shows. Like, I get things through word of mouth because I'm reliable and I'm responsible and I come into rehearsal prepared. And that's a big thing, is you don't want to be blacklisted by these people just because you came in unprepared and you were not worth the time and the money that they spent to hire you. The other thing is within those rehearsals, again, they're probably pretty quick. You probably don't have a lot of turnaround between the concert and the rehearsals, and you're probably only playing with these people for like 4 to 5 hours. And that's not a lot of time to gel with the people that you're playing with or just kind of really do more than figure out who you're playing with and figure out what they sound like and then go home and think about it. So you really do have to be active in these rehearsals. You have to be marking everything. Do not take for granted that you will remember something, because if there's a week between the rehearsals and the concert, yeah, you're gonna forget stuff. So write everything down. And also think about who you're playing with. Listen very carefully So that way when you're practicing at home, you can think about the sounds that you were hearing. Being an active participant in terms of listening and the way that you're playing and the way that you're responding to everyone else, one, shows that you're a responsible, good musician who's, again, worthwhile hiring, but also that helps the other people around you figure out what's going on as well. They're all in the same boat, and being the rock and being a stable, solid performer means that the performance is going to go better, and you want to sound good. That's always the goal, is to sound good. And the last thing that I kind of want to talk about is professionalism. I see people who have been hired before, especially, who aren't kind of on thin ice, really have different demeanor than the people who are new and are trying to figure out what's going on. And while, yeah, that comfort level does allow you a little bit more leeway just because you know what the organization is like and you know what is expected of you, there's still a level of professionalism that you have to carry because it's a professional responsibility and opportunity. And well, yes, it's fine to joke around with people that you know and kind of practice in breaks and things like that. When you're in rehearsal, and that's what you should be focusing on. It's not okay to just mess around and make jokes and really use up time that could be used to actually learn the music. Especially when you only have a few rehearsals, that's wasting other people's time, and it's frustrating. And it's frustrating to see from more senior members of a company just because it means that you don't respect my time. And I don't have a lot of time for some of these things, and I want to get as much information and as much rehearsal in as I can so that I play the best I can, and having someone take that away from me because they think that they can be silly in rehearsal is really kind of disrespectful to the rest of the people in the rehearsal, at least in my opinion. And again, it's not like you have to be serious 100% of the time. There's always going to be spaces for socialization and messing around, and anyone who's seen Emily and I rehearse know that we are goofy and stupid, but it's also because, one, it's only the two of us in the room and we know what we have to do. Two, we're friends. And three, when we need to get down to it, we get down to it. We know how to rehearse, and that means that we have the leeway to mess around. If we didn't know each other, and when we first started working together, it was a much different experience because we were new and we didn't know how to play with each other, and we had to figure it out. And the same is true in a professional venue. It's even more true in a professional venue because of all of the reasons I have just talked about for like 8 minutes. Everyone has their own opinions and their own method, but in a professional setting, especially when you're working with other people, and again, you have a short time frame, it's really, really important to let the rehearsals be as efficient as possible because that's going to create the best product for everyone else. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. If you guys like this video, please give it a like. If you're new here, subscribe. If you want to support me more, check out my Patreon, and I'll see you guys on Thursday.